Hey everybody, Kelley Engineer here, and welcome to Kelley Construction, Part 3 on the Filature Levavasseur. This part is being recorded in Ragnamod V, version 5.7.0, in between episodes 26 and 27. In between the parts, what I did is I actually worked a little bit more on the stained glass window, and I'm still not happy with it. I'm still thinking of ways that I can make this look better, but I did extend the petals out to the base of the circle, and I also filled in the areas with the what is it called? I want to say opal, but the onyx stained glass. That's what it was, the onyx stained glass. And I actually covered each bit of it with more of the limestone to actually take apart each area of it, and actually, yeah, it makes it look like they're separate pieces of the window, and I think it looks a lot better. I'm not calling this a rose window anymore because though it does have like parts and pieces that could distinguish it as a rose window, I'm just going to call this a stained glass window now because, yeah, I've deviated too much from what a rose window is. But I am still happy with it. It's just, you know, it's not a rose window. I also completed the, well, not completed, but I started work on the second floor. And the second floor is a little boring. I'm trying to figure out a way that I can make this, pop out a little better. From the bottom, it actually looks pretty good. What I did is I actually used the regular dark bricks here, but I'm also using dark brick slabs because if I put a regular dark brick here, there wasn't enough of a gap between where the arch ended and where the floor started. And, yeah, I actually think this looks a lot better by using the slabs. I can also use the Ender IO painting machine and paint a conduit facade to look like a slab. So any conduits that I put here later on in my Ragnamod V series can still be hidden even though I'm using slabs. So I do like that. But in order to complete this build, part 3 is going to be the last part. I have 3 major things that I need to do. The first thing that I need to do is I need to actually extend out all 4 of the towers to about, where the top of the ceiling is, or the top of the roof rather. Yeah, I need to extend all 4 of these towers over here, and I also need to relay out where each of the windows are going to be. So yeah, just redoing the towers is the first thing that we're going to do. The second thing is the roof's a little boring. So I'm going to do something about that, probably make a ribbed vault, and I'll explain what a ribbed vault is if I decide to go down that route. But I'm definitely going to make it so that the roof is not nearly as boring as it is, and having all of these 90-degree angles here really takes away from the build as a whole. So I'm going to do something about that as well. But yeah, definitely work on the ceiling and make sure the ceiling has a Gothic style to it. And the third thing that we're going to do is going to work on the banister here. So it's going to be more chisels and bits. We're going to be putting a banister all the way across this area and another one on the other side. That's probably going to be the easiest task we have waiting for us. There's also little things that we have to do, like filling in this part of the roof so it actually attaches to the tower. I'm going to do that when the towers are actually finished because I don't want to have to risk redoing that. This project has been a lot of rework, and I want to limit how much rework I'm doing from this point onward. But let's get started. Alright, so for the towers, I have actually extended them up 5 blocks, so they're now resting on Y level 122. I haven't bothered doing the inside yet. I'm going to do that a little bit later, because I want to calculate out where I need to put these stained glass windows here. So like I said in part 2, these windows and the windows that are on the towers are actually the same size. The only difference is the windows that are on the towers have a thicker border. So I am going to just copy and paste. I've already grabbed these. I'm going to copy and paste these 2 windows, and then I'm going to take some limestone and I'm just going to thicken up the border a little bit to make it match more like what the factory actually has. So I have already copied them, and looking at a picture, which I'll put here, you see that the first window on the tower that faces in the cardinal direction actually lines up pretty well with where this stained glass window is. So I'm going to, put that right here, here, and here. And, oh, yeah, okay. I'm liking the look. And the second part of the window actually goes up to, I don't know. Yeah, right about here, right at the top of the, right at the top of this window. Oh, wow. I need to fix that. I'll fix that a little bit later. So, yeah, we're going to go over here and place the window right here. And what are we dealing with? Alright, that may be a little too high, but let's count out the blocks. And, I don't know, just an estimation. What are we dealing with, like 23 blocks? It was 23 blocks. Alright, so it says it's 23 blocks and I have a 3-bit here. That's really easy to do. Thankfully, it is an odd number, so all I have to do is just go down by 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Use the middle piece here, the bottom piece, and the top piece. And actually, wow, okay. I'm going to throw the picture up one more time. That actually works out perfectly. So this part of the window actually should line up just about with the top of the stained glass window. Oh man, that worked out much better than I thought. So once again, I am not doing a 1-to-1 scale. But I'm going to try to do as close as I can, and I just happened to luck out. Luckily, when I was constructing this, I was taking scale into account. So, oh, this lines up perfectly. I'm real happy with that. So I'm going to extend out these windows on each of the cardinal directions. Oop, messed that up. There we go. And actually over here, I mentioned it a little bit before, but the window actually goes over here as well. Boom. So no other one of the cardinal direction windows actually faces inward over here, obviously, because the wall's in the way. But it does fit here, and on the actual factory, there is a window that faces the cardinal direction towards the roof. So I am going to put that there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replicate all of this on each of the towers before we get working on the tiny little details. And there is a detail that wraps around the towers in some places, so we're going to work on that next. There we go. Definitely liking the look of that. And I noticed that I was going to start working on the little details of the towers, but I completely forgot that I need to work on the diagonal windows as well. So I took my tape measure and I actually measured out in between these two windows. Because even though there are 10 blocks in between, there's also a little bit of bits between the bottom windows. So we got 4 bits here, and then over here I have 5 bits. So it was necessary, if I wanted everything to be even, to use the tape measure and measure out where the actual bits are going to be. So I have 10 blocks plus 9 bits, and all I have to do is just split that in half. So I have 5 blocks plus 4 bits to the center of the diagonal windows. And this is where the center of the diagonal window is going to be. From there, I am going to build it exactly the same height as one of the windows. So 2 meters plus 7 bits, or 2 blocks plus 7 bits. And yeah, so it required a little bit of imagination, but luckily we do have this tape measure, made it supremely easy in order to do. Now I'm actually going to start working on those windows. What I've decided to do is I am not going to put in the bottom windows that are on the actual factory itself, because unfortunately, because of the way that the scaling works, I don't have enough room to put those. So I'm just going to have the window right here and the window right here, and I think that'll look fine with just those 5 windows. But trying to add the 6th one right here, the spacing will be off, and I think it'll look messy, so I'm not going to bother doing that. I know last episode I put in a little bit of limestone right here, just trying to measure out the window. But I've already filled that in, and I'm going to start working on these windows and see how they come out. Alright, I have completed the diagonal window, and yeah, it looks a little different than the ones that are in the cardinal directions, and there's a reason for that. You can look at this one and see, let me get this stuff out of my inventory. But yeah, you can see that this is quite thin, and this one is quite fat. Well, the reason why I did that is because whenever you're building on a diagonal plane, it's important that you take perspective into account as well. If I had replicated the skinniness of this window onto the diagonal side, then it wouldn't have looked right when I was looking at it from the side. You see that now that I'm looking at the tower head on, you see that the diagonal window actually looks right. It looks like it's the right shape. It looks like it's the right size. And that is why I actually made this a little bit thicker. So over here is 14 bits wide. And I actually did the same thing over here, if you can believe it. There are 14 bits. Well, 7 bits over here and 7 bits over here. And I really need to get this out of my inventory. Here we go. And then over here, I actually extended it out once more. So it is actually 15 and 16 bits wide. And then I built up from there. It was actually quite a challenge to get this thing built up. I've been working on it for, I don't know, probably about 3 hours now, because I had to remove quite a bit and then put in all this limestone here. Whoops. So yeah, building on a diagonal is pretty tricky, but I am happy with the result. And despite the fact that it doesn't look like the ones on the cardinal directions, the important thing for this build is the perspective, that it looks proper depending on the angle you're looking at it. So yeah, I am happy with this, and I'm going to put it on each of the sides here, and I'm going to fill it in with glass as well. And then we're going to start working on the next part of the tower. You know what? I gotta say, I'm actually, I am still a big fan of this. So there is there's some weirdness about it. And if you're looking at the factory head-on, it's definitely noticeable that the windows in the cardinal directions are smaller than the ones on the diagonal. What I did to fix that is I actually redid every single one of the windows and moved it one block out. So it's not as noticeable as it was, but I still am liking the look, and the perspective is definitely important to me when I am making this factory. But I'm going to call these windows complete. They have the glass inside them. And I've also finished the top of the tower as well. I haven't finished the top of the tower, but I rounded out the top of the tower. And we're going to start working on finishing up the towers. So the towers of the factory proper, they actually end kind of like a rook. So, like a chess rook. And there are 4 prongs that stick up slightly in the, on the proper towers. So there's a reason why I've made the towers this short. And that's because those 4 prongs that are on the towers are actually going to reach about to the top of the ceiling. Or the top of the roof, rather. So, now that I am happy with this, I'm definitely going to, I'm going to start working on these and start fleshing out how I want it to be. So probably right around here, this thick portion right here, is where I'm actually going to start actually building it in and then building right up here out. So yeah, I'm going to play around with it a little bit. I'll be back with you once I have a design I like. So just checking in with a quick status update, and this took a while to make because I wasn't really happy with the design. I initially was just using limestone, and I was jutting it out in places, sticking it in others, and even at a distance, it still just looked like flat limestone. So what I did is I actually used a chisel to make a limestone brick over here, but this is the different limestone from, I believe, no, it's not Astral, but hang on, limestone. Here we go, from Quark, the Quark limestone bricks. And I definitely like how dark it made it right here, and I also put it right up here on the top. And it also took a little bit longer than I thought because after I made this, which has dark brick here at the top and the bottom, and this took a while to do because I actually had to just continuously move this down until I had where the normal brick is. So here's the arrayed brick with the mortar part of it, and then with the dark brick, I wanted a mortar part of it directly above so that it made it a little bit lighter. And from a distance, you can definitely tell that there is a difference. But yeah, with the dark brick here up at the top and down here where it makes it lighter, I'm definitely digging the look that it made. But after I finished this, I got sidetracked because I actually replicated it all the way down here. Looking at my reference photo, there is a band of limestone down at the bottom. So I wrapped it all the way around the factory. Definitely digging the look. So yeah, there's definitely more detail here. Definitely more detail up here, but now I'm ready to start making the fence. And the fence is going to be difficult because I have to do a little bit more calculating because the fence isn't rounded. The fence is actually in a octagonal. So, actually, hang on, I should probably look at my reference photo again, and maybe hexagonal. Regardless, I need to actually put a straight fence like right here, and then angle it so that it's straight over here. Yeah, it's a hexagon. So, yeah, I have to do some angling to make sure that everything is even. So I'm going to work that out. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to check in with a quick status update, and I'm definitely digging how this looks, especially when it wraps up all the way around to the top of the tower. What I'm going to do is whatever I decide for the fence right here, this straight fence right here, I'm actually going to replicate it and put it down here because honestly it's easier. It saves time and it will still put the design of the factory, it'll still be true to the design. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to check back with you soon. Just looked over the last clip and I might be a certifiable idiot. It is an octagon, not a hexagon. I was looking right at my reference photo and was just like, yeah, okay, that's a hexagon. No, it's an octagon. But I am really glad that I used this quark limestone brick right here, because using the standard limestone, yeah, it really pops out from it. So I need to start building this up. But what I did is, once again, perspective kind of hurt me here. So what I did is I actually extended this out to here, right on this where I get the first two on my circle, and extended both lines right out so that it would be even, leaving a one gap at its smallest. So the one gap at its smallest, move this over and just replicated it over here. It definitely leaves more than enough space that it still looks good. But the trick was moving from here over here was perfectly fine, but I could not have moved from here and just used one dots all the way across. It would have looked wrong, and this part would have looked too small. So once again, perspective would have hindered my progress on that. So what it is, I actually extended it out by 3, 2, and then moved it all the way over, and just replicated it on all the sides. And now that I have something that looks even, I can start building up this fence. Alright, so I just got done putting in the 8 spires on the top of these things, and I am very happy with how this turned out. And once again, perspective played a part. Perspective seems to be the theme of this episode. But over here, let's get rid of these so it's not putting the holograms in the way. But yeah, over here, this was perfectly fine to make. It was very easy to make. It was just a matter of finding a simple design and making it work double within the confines. However, this is obviously a different size area. So trying to replicate this design diagonally proved a little bit difficult, and looking at it head on, you can definitely see the differences. It looks a little janky, but from a distance, it doesn't look that bad. And yeah, you can definitely see where the design goes. So I am very happy with this, and I'm going to replicate it onto the other 3 towers before continuing on to the next part, which is going to be the roof. I also took this design right here, and I moved it over as banisters. I had to use a lot of limestone for this, but yeah, it is all the way across, and I need to figure out some way to actually get rid of this 90-degree angle. I'll probably actually slope it down. I'm going to slope it down using the not the dark limestone, but the limestone bricks from Quark, because right now they look like shingles, and it definitely works. It was completely unintentional that they look like shingles, but I'm glad that it actually worked out. So yeah, I'm probably going to slope these down a little bit. It's not going to be like a 45-degree angle. But I'll slope it down a little bit, and yeah, add the shingle look to it from those bricks to see how it looks. And yeah, once I completely move this design over to the other towers and work on the little shingling over here, I'm going to move on. Yeah, can I be honest with you guys? I freaking love this. This is absolutely gorgeous and probably like one of my favorite things about this build so far. Yeah, I'm really digging it. I also did what I said I was going to do, and I made a very slight down angle here. Put the chiseled limestone on it. And yeah, I'm really liking the look of this as well. So with that, I'm actually done with the outside, with the exception of moving this stained glass window over to the other side. I still don't know what I want to do over here for these petals, but I am actually fine with the onyx and gray glass that's right here. Later on I can find a design, but honestly, by itself it doesn't look that bad. It really doesn't. So yeah, I'm actually going to call this complete as well. The outside of the filature is complete. And now it's time to start working on the inside. Alright, we are finally ready to move on to the final part of this build, which is the roof. So I have removed the columns that I had here. I originally wanted to do a ribbed vault, but I realized a ribbed vault is it's too fancy and doesn't meet with the actual theme of this factory. So instead we're going to change the roof to something called a hammer beam roof. And a hammer beam roof is really just characterized with these little these beams that are jutting out. And these are called, they're just called hammer beams. But a hammer beam roof has other support parts to it. So there is like a, oh shoot, what is the name? A hammer brace. So there's like a brace right down here that supports the weight of the rafters on a roof. And yeah, and it is called a hammer brace. And then you have something called a collar brace. And the collar brace actually goes around like a horse collar all the way down to the other end in an arch fashion. And yeah, so that is the type of roof I'm going to go with because it's Gothic, so it fits the theme. And like I said in a previous clip, the roof of the Filature Levavasseur it was a wooden roof. So when it went up in flames, the roof was the first thing to go, and the roof just straight up collapsed because it was almost entirely made out of wood. So yeah, that's the theme that I'm going to be going for. But I've already constructed a little bit of it over here, at least with the rafters, and the hammer beams are actually going out by 6 blocks, and I put torches here just so I had a little bit of light. But what these rafters are made out of are spruce planks and spruce logs and birch planks. And I like how light it is. I tried it before with spruce planks instead of the birch, and it was too dark. You couldn't really notice that there were rafters there at all, and the purpose of these rafters are to take away from the fact that I have 90-degree angles that are making up the roof, so I'm not going to bother smoothing those out, but hopefully with the rafters there, it'll take away from the fact that these are 90-degree angles and that it looks boring, it looks messy, it looks vanilla, and that's not the look that I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put all of these rafters here, and I already have a positive chisel design. I'm just going to continue placing the rafters. Come on, there we go. Yeah, continue placing the rafters until I have all the way through, and then I'm going to start working on the hammer braces, which, like I said, is the arch that's going to be going from here right to about here. In the very first clip, I mentioned that these walls are kind of boring, and yeah, just making the decision to use a hammer beam roof solves all of the issues that I thought I was going to have with this roof. So yeah, I'll be back with you shortly. There we go. Look at that. So now that I have the rafters in here, your eye, when you look at the ceiling, is immediately drawn to those rafters instead of the 90-degree angles. And in fact, they don't even look like 90 degrees anymore. They just look like they're like sheets of wood that have just been like stacked like shingles. Well, actually, those are shingle blocks, so that's really fitting. But yeah, it definitely doesn't look as gaudy as it did before, but now we can actually start working on the hammer braces. So the hammer braces, I'm not exactly sure how I want to do this, because the way that the hammer beams work is usually from most reference pictures you look at from a hammer beam, the collar actually starts, I don't know, probably right around here. So the fact that I have this this far out means that I may have given myself a little bit of trouble, because the collar brace starts directly above where the hammer brace ends. So if I have the hammer brace going and I have a decent arc, the hammer brace is probably going to start right around here. So if it starts all the way down there, then I'm afraid that once I have them stacked all across here, it's actually going to take away from the windows. And also, if I start placing storage drawers over there like I intend to, then I won't be able to put down the storage drawers because, yeah, the braces are going to be in the way. So it's something that I just have to worry about for the future. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in the supports for my collar braces. And I'm actually going to go, so I have this one right here that I can't build on, obviously, but I'm going to go in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then right around the center of the block, I'm going to go in 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, let's go into single bit mode. There we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to go 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm just going to make this square right here. Once I have this square, I'm going to build it up. Oh, not drawn region, but want connected material. I'm just going to build it all the way up to the roof. And when I say the roof, I mean the top of the rafter. And then I'm going to take a step back, see how that looks, see whether or not, yeah, this may actually be a little bit too thin. Oh, yeah, that's definitely too thin. So I'm going to build this out by 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. And the last 1, 2, all the way up to the rafter. Oh, yeah, okay, that's perfect. So it still leaves a little bit of the rafter showing. Oh, actually, is the rafter still showing a little bit? Oh, yeah, right there. Look at that. But you know what? Yeah, that's fine. It still works. So, yeah, that actually ends up being the perfect space for my for this to go. So actually, I guess that what that's going to mean is the collar can start right here and move all the way forward and still have a little bit. Traditionally, what a lot of hammer beam roofs do, especially in churches, is they actually do build out a little bit more, and they usually put like angel gargoyles or angel statues on this last little bit of beam. And yeah, I think I'm going to actually do the same here. So now that I have this extra bit here, that works out perfectly because it is where the torches go, and it lights up the area during the nighttime pretty well. It actually lights up the roof as well. I really like that look. So that's what we're going to do, which means I have given myself a little bit more room to work on the hammer brace, and it's not going to go down nearly as much. It'll probably end right about here if I do it properly. But I'm going to build that up real quick, and I'm actually going to do the same thing. How? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to do 8 in a drawn region. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm just going to build 2 out again and draw that all the way down. Probably to... yeah, that'll work. Alright, so now that that is my space to work with, I can actually build myself a pretty good hammer brace. It's not going to be like a direct circle. It's actually going to be... I don't really have a good... I have it pictured in my head, but I don't really know how to describe it. So I'm going to go look that up real quick, build it up, and then explain exactly what the shape is and what the inspiration is. Honestly, I really don't mind the look of this. Yeah, I have the hammer braces complete, and yeah, they do look good. I should note that it's not architecturally sound from a real-world perspective. The reason being because the hammer braces over here should idealistically extend all the way to the end of this hammer post right here, this support brace. Unfortunately, for aesthetic reasons, I decided not to do that because it would have extended the arch down too much, like I said in the last clip. So yeah, I ended the arch right about here, and then extended it out just below the hammer post. But we're going to move into the collars now, and ideally in larger cathedrals or larger churches, the collar would extend for like, it would start here and then it would go all the way up and extend in a very large arch all the way down to here. I am not going to do that in smaller churches, such as the one I'm using for my inspiration, which is the St. Agnes Church in Cawston. That's Cawston, Cawston. And the way that that one is going is actually the arch starts about here and it ends right about here. And because it is a smaller church, that does the trick. The reason why that collar needs to be there is because in a hammer beam style roof, the rafters are constantly pushing down on the support over here, which is why the beam goes out, and it actually takes some of the load off of the rafters and on the actual support itself. And there are usually buttresses or load-bearing beams that keep the structure from collapsing, and they go hand in hand with the hammer beam. Lucky for me, I actually do have buttresses, technically, on this structure, and that's the columns right here. directly opposite of where each of the beams are, I have these columns, and these columns will serve as my buttress for this structure. So it works from an architectural standpoint, and I'm happy with that. But I am going to suss this out and start an archway, at a very minimal angle, and end it right about here. And maybe, just maybe, I'm going to throw in the picture of the St. Agnes Church. But I may actually add some more beams going horizontally across. I don't know yet. I'm going to see how it looks once I actually have the collar up. But I'll be back with you once that is done. And yeah, I am digging the look of this. Oh, another thing. Originally, when I planned the second floor of this, it was going to be with a ribbed vault. I decided not to use the ribbed vault idea because, yeah, I already said this in this episode, but it would have been too fancy. Unfortunately, because I'm using a hammer beam, this floor no longer fits. So that is unfortunate. I'm going to keep it, obviously, but the factory is going to look unfinished even when I do finish it, because the hammer beam is made for wide open areas. So in the St. Agnes Church, there's actually the pews would be right about here, and then the goings on of the church could happen right behind this wall where the pews are, and the hammer beams actually start right about here and extend up. But obviously I can't do that anymore. I have already spent way too much time working on this to even think about tearing it down. So I have a mismatch of two styles here, and that's perfectly fine. It's going to serve its purpose, and yeah, even with the two conflicting styles, it'll still look good. Just let it be known that it is two conflicting styles. But yeah, let's get working on this collar. Alright, here we go. It is not perfect, but I did add a little bit of a collar here, and I added the collar down here. I like the, yeah, you definitely notice the collar down at the bottom. The collar at the top is far more subtle. But with this, the factory is actually complete. Oh man, this was quite the labor. This, I don't even know how long this took. It took quite a long time. I've actually pulled an all-nighter to complete this. So, I'm not going to bother oh, no. No. Chisel and bit messed up. Oh, it didn't mess up on this one. Oh, I can fix that. I can fix that a little bit later. But, yeah, I'm not going to bother putting anything in the spandrels here. This is supposed to be a factory, so I'm going to keep things simple on the inside. Until, yeah, let all the machines I eventually add make up the detail. But, oh, shoot, sorry. Spandrels are the, like the gaps in between arches. Think of the Arc de Triomphe. But yeah, I'm not going to put anything in the spandrels. We're going to keep things simple here. But I am happy with how this has turned out, despite the fact that we have some mismatching styles here. But, yeah, I'm going to close out this part of Kelley Construction. Yeah, I don't even know. I should probably do a like a video or something at the beginning or end of this to show off all of the little details. But I am Kelley Engineering, and hope that you did enjoy this. What the heck is on my back? Is that the angel ring? I have no idea what those are. Those were not here when I started this episode. It is Christmas Eve. It's probably because it's Christmas. It's probably some mod adding some special Christmas Eve stuff. But I am Kelley Engineering. Hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.